Hello everyone, how are you doing? So this is the second video request, 5 Real Fortnite Horror Stories. This is video part 2. This is the second story, and I kind of was skimming forward, and I think this is another 14-minute. So I wanted to do the first one at 14, so I don't know, this might go to 26, and then the last one will just be a little bit longer. But anyways, I made some popcorn to get into the scariness. I'll mute it when I eat. I know some people don't like it, and I apologize. I occasionally yawn from time to time. I yawn a lot. It's not that I'm disinterested. I just apparently don't breathe when I'm watching these videos. I have a terrible habit of not breathing, I guess. So that's my body just telling me, we're gonna die. Okay, we're alive. Back into it.
In the Fort by Reddit user The FNAF Maniac. Before I start telling you my story, I want you to know that I'm aware of how fake this will sound. But even if it's futile to try and convince you to believe, I will still say it. This story is real, and my friend knows this firsthand. My name is Anthony, and I'm from Athens, Greece. 2 weeks ago, at the 21st of August, a huge power failure at the electricity plant in Pauline created a massive blackout to more than half of the capital and surrounding regions. More than 100 calls were made to the emergency agencies to get people out of elevators. Traffic lights went out, chaos ensued in the street.
That's a fear, being trapped in an elevator. Oh, there's this one place that I go to work, and it's a 10-story tall, like, apartment. When I go there, I do the balconies. So it's not that I'm afraid of heights, as George Carlin would say. It's the falling and dying from them that gets me. But I'll be doing glue down on the balcony and glue down carpet, outdoor carpet, and there's this gap. It's about 1.5 inches where you can look down, because the balcony, the floor goes like that. The floor's like that, and then the wall's like that, but the balcony overhangs from that, so like people will sweep their debris off, and it'll catch in the wind, and like dirt and stuff. But you can look down, and you can see all the way down, and it's so uncomfortable. But that place, I'll be taking my tools, I get into the elevator door shuts, and it's this uncomfortable feeling of, one of these times that rope's going to snap and I'm just going to fall 10 stories. It's just an uncomfortable building to be in. That's my sharing.
Streets and more politician garbage spoke about it on the news. What nobody spoke about was how my best friend Kris was fried to death from an unexpected electrical surge caused by the failure at the plant while we were playing Fortnite. Now, some of you may call bullshit on that, mainly because he was playing Fortnite. Kris was the type of guy who would get super hyped about a game and reach a high level in a very short amount of time. A good example is how he reached level 73 in League of Angels in 1 week after it just launched 2 years earlier, only to drop it a month later. All the online games he played had the same fate, except Fortnite. Fortnite was the only online game he hadn't dropped after about 4 months, and he was getting good at it. And I mean, how many people can say they got 6 kills in a 50v50, 2 of them while being the last of their team and having the 16 others gang up on them at once? He told me that his dream was to be able to participate in the esports of Fortnite and beat pro players like Ninja, which sure would be tough, but not impossible for Kris. A person who, once he had a target, the sky was the limit. That is, until last week. Since the summer break would still go on for about 2.5 weeks, Kris was adamant on practicing his skills as much as possible. That's why we were playing a match of 50s in Fortnite, me from my house and he from his. This is important for reasons I will go on later. The point is, we were beating the other guys like moths. Kris already had 2 kills in less than 20 seconds after landing on the chest hill above Salty Springs. I, on the other hand, had a pretty tough fight on me against 3 guys with only a pistol in hand. Thankfully, I had lots of materials, so I had holed up and was just trying to key up my fort. Thankfully, Kris came to my aid immediately after killing the 2 guys, using the new feature added last week to glide off the ramp he had built on the hill to where I was near Salty Springs, gliding in and using a rift to go to get us out of there. Kris always had the best instinct of where to go and where to drop for loot, so we got our asses to glide over to the circle and patch me up. After that, the game moved pretty fast, leaving us with 1 enemy to win the game and 4 kills under Kris's belt and 2 under mine. So, if the 10-something people looking out for the last guy, Kris was the one to find him and push him so hard that he had to flee at the very line between the storm with little to no health left. We were running to get the guy and finish him off when suddenly Kris stopped. "Hey, something weird's with the lights out here. I think there's something off with..." And that was it. After he suddenly logged off, his avatar dying and dropping his loot. Confused as I was, I still went and took the kill, because if I hadn't, there would be hell to hear from Kris. So the game ended and I was back at the lobby, but Kris wasn't. I didn't think much of it since Kris usually has problems with his internet connection, and I figured he would get back on after a bit. A half hour later, I'd gotten another round when my phone started to ring. Hunkering down, I checked the phone and it was Kris's mother. Since Kris's SIM card had been lost last year, for a while I had to call his mother's phone if I wanted to speak to him. "Hello?" I asked when I picked up. "Hello, Anthony. Have you seen Kris today?" his mother asked me, her voice cheery but somehow bit off. We were playing another match when he suddenly logged out about 30 minutes ago," I said as I looked at my computer's clock. "Did something happen?" "I don't know," she replied. "A blackout happened here at the office and I wanted to see if there was problems at home too, but Kris won't pick up his phone." "I could go check up on him if you'd like," I offered as a slight tension started building up in my mind. "Thank you very much, Anthony. If you see him, please tell him to call me back, okay?" "Yes, Miss Irene," I replied. "Thank you very much, Anthony. Bye," she said and hung up the phone. I quickly logged off and left our apartment after locking, going to the parking to pick up my bike. My family lives on a block of flats, and here in Greece many of these have a garage-like space at the ground floor. The trip from my house to Kris's took me about 10 minutes pedaling while standing. I knew where Kris left his spare keys, so I picked them up and went up to his apartment and got in. "Kris?" I called out. The blackout had reached here too, after all. And there was no answer. "Kris, are you there?" I asked again, this time louder. And that's when I saw his phone plugged to a charger on a small stand nearby. Kris never went anywhere without his phone. "Kris!" I practically yelled now and ran straight for his room. I opened the door and found him sitting on his chair in front of his now closed computer, his face mashing the keyboard. "Kris!" I yelled and started shaking him, hoping to wake him up. He was out cold. I quickly took out my phone and called 166, the paramedics over here. 10 minutes later, they came to pick him up. He was still alive, but his breathing was too shallow and his heart pace low. I went to the hospital with them and called my parents from there. The paramedics had already called Kris's mother, and his father was out of the city on a job at the moment. When she came, she was sobbing very hard. I was just numb, too shocked to properly react. Kris stayed in the ER overnight and passed away early in the morning the next day. The electric surge had popped his earphones and fried his brain.
Wow.
The next day at his funeral, I was just still too numb. I could feel the sorrow, the pain, but the tears just wouldn't come. The next days I was a mess. I was barely eating and speaking, only laying in bed and staring at nothing. My parents tried to do anything to cheer me up, even giving me money to go to the internet cafe Kris and I used to go to, which was something we did when we could pay, not our parents. Yesterday my parents managed to get me to go. I was still numb, but at least I'd do something else than just staring at infinity. There I met a few other of our common friends, and all of us exchanged some awkward words with each other. Slightly touching the matter, all of us were crashed by Kris's death. Soon after, I sat on the computer and booted up Fortnite. The first few games were the same as usual, ignoring the fact that I was moping around, not really getting kills. But that started changing an hour or so in. At random times, I would hear a bullet zip by my character's head or body and hit the enemy who I was battling with, either knocking him or leaving the last hit for me, with a few missed shots. I didn't pay much attention to it at first since I was in 50s, and many players were around me at the time, both close and far away. But once I went into solo, the thing kept happening. I was a bit unnerved. Every single time this would happen, I ducked down and searched for the guy. On one occasion, I managed to get a glimpse of the guy, but he was under the shade of a tree at the edge of the Wailing Woods, over 200 feet away, so the scope's image was pretty much blurry. At that point, I figured the guy must have been trying to kill me while I was distracted or something, so I did my best to shoot him and let him know I meant business and scare him away. Have you ever seen someone use flippin' sexy to avoid a bullet? That's exactly what the guy did. But that's not the weird thing. I mean, sure, if you time it right, you can do that. There's even a video with the Viking guy doing it, and I shot him with the heavy sniper, which has a slow bullet travel time. But it looked a bit too perfect. So I jumped out to go and take down the guy in front of me with the double barrel, before going for the guy in the trees, but when I looked back, he was gone. I really didn't have much time to think of it as the storm was approaching, so I just left and ran to the Tomato Temple. After that, the game ended pretty quickly with me in third place. Seeing that I had about 15 minutes left until I had to get up, I decided to get in a 50s game before going. The start of the game went normally, with me and a few others landing on Tilted, which was on the enemy side. But suddenly the enemy count started dropping really fast, and it was here in Tilted, despite us being like 6 guys and another 20 or so on the other team. When I got out of the building I was in, all I saw was my teammates down, asking me to revive them, and loot scattered everywhere as far as the eye could see in the square. I revived the guys and asked one of them, which was a squad mate of mine, what happened. He said that they were swarmed and knocked down when a guy from our team started sniping at them. All of them, I asked him, stumped. I mean, 20 guys? Not even Ninja could pull off something like that. No, about half of them. The rest were on a big ramp up high and he destroyed it, he told me while healing. Dude was pretty good, but then he just left us and went away. By that point, I was sure something was very wrong. Just how many pros had I met in these 2 hours I was there? And now a guy who could go 1v20? After that, the game was pretty much one-sided, and within 4 minutes we were 17 guys from our team against 1. So we were searching around the remaining map, which was getting smaller and smaller. I went to the border of the circle and started checking along the line, when suddenly the remaining guy shot me with a shotgun from a branch above me. Turning up, I shot him once, ruining his shield and some of his health, before he knocked me down. I started crawling away as he jumped down, reloading his shotgun. I had pretty much given up when suddenly someone from my team glided in and threw an impulse at the enemy's feet, throwing him out of the circle and into the storm. After that, he built a wall between us and the guy in the storm and started reviving me. I first saw him at that moment. He had the raven skin on, and I felt pretty weird looking at his face as he revived me. The raven skin was the only one Kris had ever bought. Anything else he had won it, and this reminded me of the times we played together. Soon after I was up, and he dropped me a slurp and a rocket launcher along with the rocket. One rocket. Confused, I stood there, and he turned around and ran away a bit. My jaw dropped when I saw the engine backpack on his side. For those who don't know, back in April, Epic offered a free rare generator-like backpack in an item shop for 6 days, as a payback for an instability issue, and Kris always wore it along with the raven skin. "I'm the Reaper engine," he'd say whenever someone asked him in game why he had that on. The Raven stopped and turned a bit to look at me, a rift to go on his left hand, raised his right hand and tipped the rim of his hood before using the portal. But the thing is, the sound of the rift opening never came. I didn't know what to think when the sound of the enemy's player's footsteps snapped me back up to reality. Mechanically, I took out the rocket launcher and shot at the feet of the guy as he rounded the corner of the wall, killing him instantly. Of course, I won the game, but I didn't feel like it at all. After that, I logged off and just went home. Last night, I didn't manage to sleep much. After thinking about it, and I mean thinking about it a lot, I came up with those 3 theories. 1, Kris's ghost possessed the game. 2, he died but somehow his mind was uploaded to the game like in that movie with Johnny Depp. And 3, someone hacked into his account and coincidentally played with me. I
was just about to say, there's a, sorry. There's a story about, this is off topic, but kind of related. There's a story about a guy and his girlfriend. And she ended up dying, I think in a car accident or something like that. And the mother left her Facebook page up. I don't know, some people might understand this story. Left the Facebook page up for tributes and stuff like that. I swear I just heard a sound. Am I dying? So they left this page open for tribute, and then the boyfriend, like 9 months later, or maybe even longer, started getting these text messages, and the text messages were things that she had said, but it was like in this weird order. Anybody know that story? It's super weird. And so he asked the mom. Mom clearly is like, no, I haven't logged into it. And then he was trying to figure out who had hacked her account, was doing all this, and nothing. Couldn't come up with anything. So he had no idea what was going on. I think him and the mom ended up closing the Facebook page. But this kind of reminds me of that, where maybe somebody hacked it, but maybe it's just just kind of I don't know. I mean, I don't know how to word it. Maybe it's just his ghost. I have no idea.
really don't know what I'm supposed to do or feel at this point. I mean, I'm a bit happy to see him again, but God, I'm also afraid. What if it's not him? What if I went crazy and I'm seeing things that aren't there? But worst of all, now that Kris is in there, what will he do?
Yeah. Well, after this, we're going to go ahead and end this part 2. And I guess we're going to finish up. What time? 16 minutes for the last one. Okay. So the first video was a little short. Second video is a little longer. Third video will be longer. And it'll have 3, 2, and 1. Or 3, 4, 5, however you want to look at it. So we're going to go ahead and end this here. Like and subscribe if you want me to possess some kind of demon through your Fortnite game, and I'll be happy to do that. And until next time, have a good day, have a good night. Part 3 will be up tomorrow.